Hey guys, Dr. Nordberg again with a new deer hunting seminar here in cold Minnesota. Below zero again this morning. It's supposed to get down to 10 to 20 below again tonight. So that's Minnesota for you. But a couple more weeks, get into March, things will start to brighten up again and get a little warmer. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to spring scouting too, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So we just got done with one seminar, but I'm anxious to talk to you about other things too, like scouting. You know, uh, you know, in my last seminar, I talked to you about cruise trails, stand-side approach trails, and trying to impress on you how important, how much benefit you get from a cruise trail and how to use it. And I mentioned, gee, it might take you 2 or 3 years before you got it set up. And if you hunt several square miles, you probably have several of these and maybe connecting trails from one cruise trail to another way over that way somewhere and that kind of thing. But they're worth having. And for so many good reasons. And so, all of this scouting is to find all these things and get ready for a hunting season, like before the season or during the hunting season. It takes a fair amount of work. And you might think, oh man, that's terrible. Or maybe you're thinking, gee, maybe I'm going to try that this year. And you're looking at maps already, deciding, well, maybe we should have a cruise trail. I'm trying to think about where it should be. But the thing about scouting like this is, I remember, I didn't start scouting until 1960, first time I ever scouted. And back then we weren't real serious. We'd go out grouse hunting and walk around the woods where we hunt deer and shoot grouse. And whereas it didn't harm the hunting because we always did that early, like in September. We weren't real serious about it then, but over the years, it just we developed a passion for scouting. And it got that way because we know it's going to pay off. We know it's going to make it possible for us to take 4 bucks, big bucks, some of the biggest bucks in our hunting area each year. And we're going to see a lot of deer in the process, and it just makes deer hunting so much more fun. And every time you get a buck big enough for taxidermy, that makes you feel pretty good. Oh man, that was a great year. Well, so when you know your scouting is going to give you that kind of hunting, it quits being work. It gets to the point where you can't wait to start again, get ready for the next hunting season. And in past years, it hasn't been uncommon for us Nordbergs to go 2 or 3 times, scout 3 or 4 times. It's long weekends before hunting season begins. Always finishing at least 2 weeks before the opening day. And how many guys do you know that do that? That sounds kind of crazy, I suppose. But we know it's going to pay off. And so nowadays, we're just trying to be more thorough. We're just trying to be more sure of spots where we're going to hunt, spots that we think, we're pretty sure we're going to be able to take a big buck. And it doesn't always work. That's part of deer hunting. But it works often enough so we know this pre-season work is really worthwhile. For years, and we're doing it again this year, we started doing our scouting in spring. Here in Minnesota, right after snowmelt in spring. Usually that's about the end of April, first few days in May. We don't like to go after that because once it starts warming up, pretty soon the woods is full of ticks and all kinds of flying insects that love blood. It gets to be kind of miserable out there because of them. So we like to get out there before leaves start growing on trees and brush, So when you get out there, gee, you can see quite a ways out in the woods, and you can see trails going way over there. And oh, there's an antler rub over there, and you say, oh, there's a couple more there. And when you see something like that, you know, more than one in one small area, you think, the first thing that pops in your mind is buck bedroom, because bucks commonly make a number of antler rubs appropriate for their size. Like if they're all 3, 4, 5, 6-inch rubs, that's a big buck that's bedding over there. But they do that before breeding begins, because you know at that time they keep going back to their bedding areas during hours they normally bed, midday and middle of the night. And they're getting excited. The testosterone levels are getting high, and they are feeling combative, and they're restless, and they can't wait for does to be in estrus. And they spend a lot of time making antler rubs and ground scrapes. Oh, not ground scrapes, but antler rubs in their bedding areas, and that's one of the sure signs. And we find most buck bedding areas in the spring, because we can see antler rubs way over there, way over there. And in fall, you practically got to be on top of them to see them in a buck bedding area, because that's thick cover, thick highways, thick, dense cover. So spring is a good time for that. Not only that, by that time, all the surviving deer that were in your hunting area last year are back in their previously established home ranges. They're back home again. Well, some of them didn't survive. Some of them were taken during the gun season or bow season. Some of them died due to starvation, lack of food, you know, and deep snow in the winter. Some of them were killed by wolves. So they're all back. But about that same time, all 2-year-old bucks, and this is everywhere in America, all 2-year-old bucks in spring, after they leave their wintering area, it doesn't have to be snow for that, they do it in Texas and Alabama, they do it everywhere. They gather in the winter, congregate in the winter in wintering areas. But when they return, at that time, all 2-year-old bucks, you know, they were yearlings until they became, you know, yearlings last year, fawns the year before. You know, fawns yearlings stay with their mothers all through their yearling year, because they still need instruction and direction whenever they're faced by danger. They're still learning how to live in the wilds on their own. But finally, as a 2-year-old, they want their own home range, and so they're searching all over for a home range that isn't occupied by other deer. And deer that have been taken or died for some reason in your hunting area are choice places for them. And so when they find one, they'll claim it as their own. They might have to have trouble with other bucks in the area who says, well, who are you? What are you doing here? You're not supposed to hear and chase away or something like that. But 2-year-olds everywhere are looking for their first personal home ranges. And so the area can fill up again with young bucks, you know, 2.5-year-olds in the fall, you know. And so that kind of keeps your older bucks, you know, the numbers the same from year to year. And so that's happening. Well, so in the spring, what we're always anxious to find, what we look for, we're not looking for deer. You know, we'll get close to some, but we're looking for fresh tracks and droppings. And even ground scrapes and antler rubs. Those ground scrapes and antler rubs will look just like they did in fall, you know, when you're out there. These are still looking really fresh, like it was just made last week sometime. You know, they'll be really fresh looking. And the ground scrapes as well. You know, there might be some leaves on them and that kind of thing. They look dull because they haven't been renewed for a while, but there they are. There's ground scrape. Big ones and little ones, that kind of thing. So those are kind of neat things to find when you're out there in the woods. But what we're most looking for is fresh tracks and droppings. Now, and more than that, what we're looking for is fresh tracks and droppings of mature bucks, because those are going to be our primary our only quarry actually during the hunting season later on in the year. And so, you know, we've been at this a long time now. After all, it's my whitetail study area. It's been that since 1990. We know where buck home ranges are. You know, younger bucks and older bucks and the big dominant bucks, that's the range of we know where doe ranges are. Yeah, you know, they're full of trails and doe-sized tracks and droppings and tracks and droppings of younger, they're young, fawns and yearlings. Well, in the spring there's no fawns yet at that time. They aren't born till the last half of May. But we find various sized tracks, and we say, well, this is a doe range. I wonder if there's a doe here this year, and pretty soon, oh, sure enough, there's some half-inch droppings. Oh yeah, that's a doe, and maybe it's a little smaller hoof prints. Here's were 3 inches, and here's some there that are about 2.5, and that must be a yearling doe. You know, it was a fawn last year. Now it's a yearling doe, and so. Yeah, there's a doe in this doe home range, and like I said, doe home range is full of trails, because does and their young, these small family deers, make almost all the deer trails you see in the woods. Bucks are alone, you know, they get back in the spring, they're alone now, they're going to be alone until September when they finally shed velvet. And all during the antler growing season, they're alone, because they don't want to be running around the woods and enjoying the velvet on their antlers. Maybe in farm areas they'll be active during the day because they'll be out and open most of the time. But in the forest areas, especially where there's wolves, they don't want to have to be running rapidly anywhere with a chance of injuring their antlers. So they don't move around. They don't make much. They don't make many trails. When you're near a buck bedding area, for example, you hardly find any trails. But you find big tracks and big dropping. In the bedding area, first thing a buck does is empty his balls when he gets out of his bed. So you'll find lots of larger droppings, 3/4 an inch long, some of them longer even, puddles of them. And in the spring they're puddles. They aren't clumps like they are in the fall, and you'll find those. And then you'll find beds, longer than 45 inches, but 50 inches, up to 56 inches where we hunt. We get some 300-pound deer, bucks where we hunt. So they're pretty big beds in there, and that's the only size bed you see there. And those are the only size droppings and hoof prints you find there. And there's these antler ruts, maybe 6. There are some bedding areas I found where there were 30 of them. It could be quite a few. But anyway, so we're looking for that. We say, well, now, the buck usually beds here. We like to find buck bedding areas in the spring because when we're hunting, we want to stay away from them. Because as long as we do that and the buck has a safe place to bed, he's going to stay in his home range, and that's what we want. We don't have any chance to get him if he's in a cattail swamp 6 miles away during that period. We want him to be right there where we're hunting. So we stay away from those until maybe the last day and a half of the hunting season. Then we might hunt those if we need to. But anyway, so we go all around our area. Oh yeah, there's doe living here again this year, and oh, this buck is here, and oh geez, no big buck tracks here. I hope another buck finds this and establishes this area as his home range this year. But sometimes that's happened. Hey, this is bear this year, or there's no does in this area. And we've had something like that because the wolves ate them all. And we have severe winters besides that. There's 1 square mile that we've hunted for years and years and years that have been devoid of deer signs until this last year. After 3 years, they finally have deer back there. And John got Big 10-pointer this last November, so it's starting to look good again. But that's what we're looking for primarily. Now, another thing we look for then, it makes it easier, is browse areas. The browse areas will be that our deer will be feeding in after, beginning the second week in November. After they'll start feeding in those areas. Well, browse areas, full of woody plants, little stems, and in our area, the favorite ones are red osiers, and I've talked about those many times, and sugar maple saplings, and they got white ragged tips on them after whitetails feed on them. And later in the year, those ragged tips will be brown or black, but But in the spring, it looks like they've just been feeding here, and they haven't. They're at that time. They want greens. They want grasses. One reason they hang along shoulders of roads in the spring, because those are the first places the grasses are bare, and they want to go there and eat grasses, green ones, green plants coming up. So they're not eating browse, and when we go there in the end of April and we're looking around, but we see all these. It looks like they've been just fed in by maybe 100 deer. Oh, that's exciting to find, because wherever you find that, that is almost certain to be a favorite feeding area of our deer in November, after the beginning of the second week in November. And that's where we want to be. And we mark those places on our map, and some are just small areas. And I've talked about, they are different sizes. There's little strips around the ends of bogs and all places like that, but they're not just the same. Whitetails have proved to us that they like to feed here. And there's usually good reasons for that. So we look for feeding areas. Now, in the spring, they're going to be feeding on greens. And at that time, there's greens coming up all over in this sunny little open area where there's usually grasses. And you walk around out there, and sure enough, off trail, you'll find all kinds of tracks, or maybe just a few, depending on how many deer are feeding there, but off trail. They aren't on the trail, they're off trail tracks. Most feeding is off trail. And the deer have been walking in there, and you find droppings here and there, and deer just are creating droppings wherever they go. And they're fresh. And tracks might be old looking already, but they weren't made last fall, and some of the droppings will look like that, which tells you, well, this deer has been coming back here quite a bit. This is a graze area. And they're going to be feeding here the first week in November. Might be the first few days of our hunting season. So we need to know that. This is going to be a place to hunt them. So anyway, those are the things we're looking for. We want to find out how many bucks we got, how many of them are real big and where they live, generally. And these buck home ranges and doe homers don't change much from year to year, unless the woods, there's fire, or it gets to be all climax timber, it's all shaded up, but they don't change a whole lot from year to year. Gradually they'll change, but where they were living last year will be the same this year, unless it's logged or fire or storm went through and knocked everything down. But whatever, these are the places where we expect to find such signs. And if we don't, well, we're hopeful another buck searching for a range will establish that area as his own. So before the hunting season. But it's a pleasant time to be out there. You get out there before the bugs and ticks are bad. And gee, you can see tracks in that damp soil of spring, they're just so plain. And the trails, gee, you see trails, there was a trail, let's go look at that. You just always, wherever you go, you seem to be finding something new you didn't know about. But it's easy. It's the easiest time of the year to scout, and what you find there can be really useful for fall or early winter hunting. And, when you go in the fall, and we always scout in the fall, that's when we make our final choices about where we want to hunt during the first weekend. Stand sites that we want to hunt. But when you go there in the fall, when you got all the deep grasses and leaves all over, you can hardly see where you're going in a lot of that deer country. You know where to go because of what you found in the spring. When you easily found it in the spring. And you go there, and sure enough, look at these clumped droppings here, inch long. Oh boy, there's a big buck back in this area. So then that spring scouting makes fall scouting easy. That pre-season scouting easy. And even scouting during the hunting season. You might find things out there where you decide, I think we better change the course of this portion of one of our cruise trails, because there's a lot more deer sign in this area that we just don't cruise, and we should cruise this. And so you might decide, oh yeah, let's do that. So let's pick out some new deer trails for this cruise trail, and we'll mark them with fluorescent tacks. We don't put colored tape or hot bark off trees on our cruise trails. We don't want them just for ourselves. We want to know. We don't want everybody else taking advantage of all the work we've done, so we just get to know them really well. But at night we can always find them because, in the darkness, because they're marked with fluorescent tacks. So flashlight, there's the next track, and you just don't get lost that way. So might take this old section, take all the tacks off of it, and move them over to the new section, that kind of thing. So, spring scouting, you think, oh geez, I don't have time to do it. Actually, you'll save time with scouting in spring. It's a good time to be out there. Kind of fun. So, and if you know it's going to pay off, it's not work. You just can't wait to do it. Just like right now, we can't wait. It's going to be a couple of months yet before we have snow melt, but we're already chaffing at the bit here because we want to get out there and do some spring scouting this year. And partly because, we found our deer doing some new things they've never done before. And that's a little bit troubling. I don't figure out what's going on out there, where those deer are going and what they're doing. Like forming herds earlier than they do when they go to wintering areas. Why are they doing that? And there's one buck I was on. Boy, he showed me lots of new things. And boy, I'm anxious to scout a couple of areas in anticipation of that buck pulling those tricks on me again. I thought I had him nailed last year, and he had me outsmarted every time. And so this year I'm going to try to be smarter about where I'm going to hunt this buck in anticipation of the way he does things. He's predictable in some ways, and so I'm anxious to find out he's still alive too. He was a big buck. But so that's what spring scouting is all about. But it does make scouting the fall much easier and more productive because you know where to go. And right away in the year, you can go back home and say, geez, I got a buck here and a buck here, and your does are over here, and they've been feeding on browse here and that kind of thing. And they're feeding on greens right now in this area. Those are important things to know. So later on, during the hunting season, usually on day 3, us Nordbergs, then we start scouting all over again because we never know, we can never be 100% sure. We found a place, say, 2 weeks before the hunting season begins, and this looks really good. But are they going to be in that same place 3 days or 5 days or 8 days after the hunting season begins? It's doubtful, especially if we used it, So where are we going to hunt next? Well, that's what that's all about. That's another kind of scouting now. But our previous scouting made it easy because we depended on that trail to give us all the information we need and our little stand-side approach trails. The scouting along those, or just going to and from stand-side, to tell us where to hunt next. But spring scouting's a good one to get used to. Just wait. Now, you get out there, and you find the kinds of things I told you, and then you decide to hunt in a certain place where you think you might get a big buck opening weekend, and you get the buck. You'll never doubt how important spring scouting is after that. It's, like I say, it's never work then. It's fun. It's just like me. I love to write. And I can write every day, and I can write 18 hours a day, and people are, how can you do that? Well, because I enjoy it. It's not a job when it's like that. And so that's the same way with scouting. And another way of looking at it, scouting is the real hunt. That's where you find the deer that you want to take. And stand hunting is just sitting there bored to death during the hunting season until that deer shows up that you figured you're going to take. And it might be your second choice or third choice, but that's what. But yeah, it's boring but that's the best way to do it. Better than any other hunting method. You know why now? So think about that. This is important to scouting. You know, why we scout, when we scout. So give it a try and become addicted like we are. You know, and like I say, the more we hunt, the more addicted we are to that. Here we are. It's a long way till November. And already we're anxious to go scouting in spring. I got a list already made out for the camp we'll use and the stuff we'll need when we go up there already. And so it's good. We can't wait for this. So, and I know my son Dave and my son Ken are thinking the same way. You know, we go up there, they'll be up there too. They'll be all over the woods the same way. Then we all go home smiling, and we stop at a restaurant and feed. We're all sitting there smiling and dreamily looking off and thinking about big bucks we're going to be hunting that fall. It's so worthwhile. Okay, well, with that, hey, it's time for me to go have lunch. So, thanks again for watching, guys. Get your books. You know, don't wait forever to do that, because who knows, someday we might even run out of those and be out of print. And and take advantage of getting a free one. And so with that, thanks again for watching. Be sure to push that red button down there before you leave and become a subscriber. It doesn't cost anything, and there's some advantages. And also that thumbs up button. So thanks again. We'll see you again soon. Be sure to visit my website. Here's the link. Here you'll find links to my blog posts, my Twitter account, my YouTube account, my Amazon store with links to my ebooks, my son's eBay store, a money saver if you're ordering from Canada or other countries, my website bookstore, and much more.